Hi Yogi, and welcome to another Slow Flow with me, Oceana. In this particular episode, we'll be moving through a well-rounded sequence that's really going to nourish your entire body with movement, and really it's a companion piece to the practice that we'll be doing next week, which will be a total body stretch. So what you could do is practice them separate to one another, or you can combine both classes together to form a full-length yoga class. In today's practice, there's nothing you particularly need in terms of props, although of course you might like to grab some things for yourself. And for those of you that are not comfortable sitting in a cross-legged position on the floor for long periods of time, you will want to either be able to roll up the back of your yoga mat, possibly grab yourself some pillows, blankets, or some books to elevate your sitting bones onto slightly. Once you've gathered everything that you need, you might have already guessed it, we will be starting in a comfortable seated position. So join me there when you're ready, Yogi. So once you arrive on your yoga mat, start with the right shin in front of the left or the right heel in front of the left. And if you feel your lower back and there's already a sense that the spine is rounding backwards, then definitely grab something that you can lift your sitting bones onto. So for some of you, that might be as simple as just rolling up your yoga mat for the first few moments of practice, or grabbing a pillow, possibly some books to sit on. And find your comfortable resting position here. So as I said, the shins could be crossed. If like me you prefer to have the heels in one line, then be my guest. Let your hands rest slightly on top of the knees. Close the eyes if you can, or just find a focal point that's quite a distance in front of you, several meters or several feet. And then let your peripheral vision widen so that actually you're having a sense that your eyes are almost blurring and your vision becomes a little bit softer. See if you can really feel the weight of your body in the sitting bones, and for a moment shift your weight a few times from left to right, lean a little bit forward, a little bit back. And feel, or rather find, that place where you feel the most supported by the floor. And from that place of support, could you possibly lengthen the crown of the head a little bit more? So almost as if there was a piece of string attached to the top of your head and somebody was pulling that string to grow you, to lengthen you. And maybe the shoulders could be a little bit softer. And gradually you could start to take your awareness towards the breath and follow the breath through the nostrils into the lungs. Notice which part of the torso responds to the breath first. So what's the first physical response to that breath? What's the second response? The third, the fourth, the fifth, the final. So really notice the intricacies of that breath, and then do the same thing for the exhale. Really map the movement of each breath through the upper body. And acknowledge with each breath that there's a slight difference from one to the other. Think to yourself how you would describe the qualities of this breath, the way your body is breathing right now. Is it soft? Is it strained? Is it easy, fluid, difficult? Is there a sense of holding on to each breath, or really longing for the inhale? And if there's a particular reason why your breath might be different today than it is normally, for example, you might have had a really stressful day, a very difficult day, or possibly a very calming day, then really acknowledge the reasoning to yourself. give that thing a little bit of airtime, especially if it's something that is quite distracting, something that keeps pulling your mind back to what happened earlier in your day. Actually giving that a little bit of breathing space can be really liberating. It can really help us let go of that thing. So give it a moment, give it a little bit of attention, and then see if you can let that thing pass. Let it move on. Let yourself, most of all, move on. And keeping the eyes closed here, bring your top and lower jaw to touch. So bring your teeth together. And begin to circle your head around the neck. So let the chin begin to drop. Take your right ear towards the right shoulder. Bring the head all the way back. Bring the left ear towards the left shoulder and let the chin drop again. In that same slow, controlled way, move the head 2 more times in that direction. And then reverse. So when the chin is down, take the left ear towards the left shoulder. Right ear towards the right shoulder and drop the chin. 2 more rotations in that direction. Gradually, when the chin is down, lift the head and slowly, slowly let the eyes blink open. Find a focal point directly on the floor in front of you. Let the eyes settle. Let the light come back into your eyes. And then start to circle your shoulders. So let's start by taking the shoulder blades all the way up towards the ears. Draw the shoulder blades towards one another, towards the spine. Draw them all the way down, really press them towards the floor, and then push them as far forward as you can. So see if we can smooth that movement out for a couple of rotations here, but really keeping it super expressive and super expansive. And then let's reverse that movement, going the opposite direction for a couple of rounds. Gradually here, let that go. Wrap your right arm just above your left elbow. Make a fist with your left hand and then circle that fist around the elbow. So you're trying to keep the upper arm and shoulder as still as possible and really focusing on the movement of your elbow joint here. And then reverse that direction a few times. Now wrap your right hand around the left wrist and circle that fist around the wrist a few times. Didn't mean to rhyme that, but I did. There we go. And then reverse that direction a few times. And then we'll swap over to the other side. So left hand grabs hold of the right upper arm. Right hand becomes a fist and we circle the lower arm around the elbow a few times in one direction and reversing that direction a few times as well. And we take it gradually all the way down to the wrist, again wrapping our hand quite tightly around the wrist, circling the hand a few times one way and a few times the other way. And finally here we'll grab hold of the knees with the hands again, circling our rib cage around the hips a few times. So really aiming the ribs towards the knees as we make that circle as big as we possibly can, really letting the spine round at the back and really aiming the chest forward at the front of that movement. And then reverse the circle, go the opposite direction a few times here. Gradually here, yogi's choice. You can plant the hands in front of you and roll over your knees. Some of you might like to prefer the shimmy the feet, to shimmy the legs out to one side. It's rather hot today, so I think my brain's a little bit fried. I apologize. So we'll essentially be making our way to tabletop. So have your hands underneath your shoulders, the knees underneath your hips, and index fingers are pointing forward. Spread the fingertips wide, press down into the knuckle at the base of your index finger. And we'll move through a couple of rounds of a cat-cow variation. So we'll start by tucking under the toes, drawing the tailbone up towards the ceiling and arching the spine, looking forward, opening the chest, pressing the tops of the feet down. As we exhale, we're going to round the spine up towards the ceiling, really pressing the floor away, looking towards the belly button and sending our sitting bones back into an extended arm child's pose, really pressing into the hands. We'll do that a few more times. As you inhale, rise up, tuck under the toes, arch the spine, looking forward, and press the tops of the feet down as you exhale to round up and all the way back. Start to really smooth out that transition between the postures, making it a fluid movement. And begin to really match the movement to your own breath cycle, which could be faster or slower than mine. Possibly even here for the last couple of rounds, you're really trying to count through every single vertebra of the spine. Maybe making a little mental note of any areas that feel as though they're moving as whole segments rather than individually. So without judgment, we're simply noticing where there might be areas of stuckness. Next time that you rise up to a tabletop position, we'll meet there and might have to slightly adjust our knees or hands. When you're ready, tuck under the right toes, press the right heel back and a few times bounce forward and back, limbering into the back of the leg. Eventually pressing into the hands, really draw the heel back, expand and lengthen the calf, the bottom of the foot, the toes. Gradually bring your shoulders back on top of the wrists and float the foot off the ground, keeping the small pinky toe turned towards the floor. If you feel ready, lift the left arm and reach it forward into balancing tabletop. Hold it there for just a moment. See if you can draw the rib cage all the way up and back towards the spine. On the exhale, bring the knee towards the elbow, curl everything in. Inhale to expand and extend the body forwards and back. Exhale, draw in. Inhale to expand. And last time here, as you exhale, everything draws in as high as you possibly can. And inhale, lengthen out. Plant the left hand down, draw the right knee back into the chest and step the foot as far forward as you can. If you need a little bit of help, use your hands to bring the foot forward. Make sure you have a little bit of a gap between the front heel and the back knee. When you're ready, inhale and lift the arms to find Anjaneyasana, low lunge. Draw the hips forward and down, expand the front of the body, reach through the fingertips. On an exhale, take the hands down to frame your front foot. Possibly start to take your sitting bones back, maybe keeping the front knee bent or beginning to straighten the leg and lift the front toes. Now here at the beginning of our practice, prioritize keeping the spine tall and long rather than immediately folding in. So for most of us, there will already be a little bit of a stretch in the front leg. And when you're ready, rebend the front knee, plant the left hand underneath its own shoulder, right arm lifts up and overhead, reaching for the ceiling and expanding the chest into that simple twist. When you're ready, gradually press your left heel away from you into a simple high lunge twist. Circle your top hand all the way back and down. Frame your front foot, look ahead of your yoga mat. On an inhale, step the back foot to the front, landing in a halfway lift position with the spine straight. The hands could be on top of your shins if you prefer, otherwise on the floor. And as you exhale, fold into the legs. Let the crown of the head hang heavy. Gently as you inhale, soften the knees and round through the spine, stack the vertebra. Come up to a standing position. Shoulders and head lift last, and once you arrive here, bring the arms over your head. Lengthen, take a deep inhale. Again, find just that very gentle back bend, lifting through the chest. As you exhale, take the palms of the hands down through the center line and hinging from the hips to fold all the way back down. Lengthen the spine halfway as you inhale, reach the crown of the head forward. And exhale, plant the hands underneath the shoulders. Step your left foot back, step the right foot back, find a high plank position. Really tuck under the tailbone, reach the crown of the head forward, the heels back, shoulders on top of the wrists. Hips in one line with the shoulders. Hover just a moment longer and then lower the knees for a modified chaturanga. Untuck your toes, look ahead. Let the shoulders travel forward as you bend the elbows, coming down in one straight line. Inhale to roll the shoulders back and lift the front of the body into Bhujangasana, keeping the elbows soft. And as you exhale, press back via the knees to downward facing dog as you tuck under the toes, lifting the sitting bones up and back. First downward dog here, so have a little walk through the legs, pedal the feet, really stretch out the toes. And then for a moment, settle into the pose. Inhale, bring your shoulders back on top of the wrist. Hover the knees just an inch or two above the floor. Look at the front of your yoga mat. Stay for another 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release the knees down into your tabletop position with a sigh of relief. And then reach your left heel back, tuck under the toes. And find again on the second side this time, just this gentle movement forwards and back as we pulsate and begin to limber into the back of the body. Eventually hold that stretch, really press from the hands into the back foot. Feel that opening in the back of the calf. Bring the shoulders back on top of your wrists. Begin to hover the left foot off the ground. See if you could reach the right hand in the opposite direction. Hold and find your balance here. As you exhale, bring the elbow towards the knee, curl in. See if you can keep the lower back as still as possible as you expand the arm forward and the foot back. Exhale, bring it in. Inhale to expand and reach out. Last time, as you exhale, everything curls into the midline. The inhale lengthens the body. Plant the right hand underneath its own shoulder. Bring the knee back into the chest. And step or use your hand to shimmy the foot forward. Again, finding a little bit of distance between the foot and the back knee as you inhale. Lift the arms and find your low lunge. Letting the hips sink forward and down. Opening the front of the chest. Maybe lightly looking up. Keeping the shoulders soft, keeping the breath there. As you exhale, slowly taking the hips back, releasing the hands either side of the front foot. Possibly from there, drawing the hips a little bit further back. The front knee could stay bent, or you're straightening that leg, maybe even lifting the front toes. Possibly staying on top of the fingertips to keep the spine tall and long. And without compromising the spine, for some of you, maybe folding a little bit deeper, but keeping that length, keeping that openness in the front of the body. Gently, gently, rebend the front knee, plant the right hand underneath its own shoulder as you lift the left arm all the way over your head into that simple twist on the second side. When you're ready, press your right heel away from you, lift the back knee into simple high lunge twist. Circle that top hand all the way down. Frame the front foot. Looking ahead, step your back foot forward as you inhale into a flat spine, reaching the shoulders and hips back. The center of the chest moving towards the floor. As you exhale, keep the spine long and fold back into the legs. Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Round the spine as you inhale, soften the knees, stack the vertebra, come up to standing. Lift the arms out and over your head. Find that back bend as you inhale, lifting through the front of the body. On the exhale, bringing the hands through the center line, hinging from the hips to fold back in. Lengthen the spine halfway as you inhale, plant the hands underneath the shoulders. And as you exhale, step the right foot back, let the left foot follow into a high plank position. Firm up the thighs, keep the shoulders on top of the wrists and press the heels actively back. Hold it just for a moment longer than you might like to. And then lower the knees, look ahead and bend your elbows to come all the way down into that modified Chaturanga Dandasana. Roll the shoulder blades back as you inhale to lift the chest into Cobra Pose. And as you exhale, press your way back via the knees into Downward Facing Dog. In this second Downward Dog, working a little bit more on our alignment. So bring the heels to hip distance. Tuck the heels behind the toes. Look at the center of your yoga mat. Spin the inner elbows forward. Press actively into index finger and thumb. And let the shoulder blades soften down the back. Find the breath. Soften the knees on your next exhale. Walk, step or jump the feet forward towards the hands. Make sure the feet are hip distance when you arrive. Lengthen the spine as you inhale. Roll the shoulders back. Draw the hips towards the space behind you. And exhale, fold back into the legs. Feel free to bend the knees to get there. On your next inhale, plant the hands underneath the shoulders. Step the left foot back. Make sure there's a good amount of distance between the heels of the feet. Inhale, rise up, lift the arms and find a high lunge position with the front knee generously bent, tracking the center of that kneecap over your second and third toe. Take a moment to arrive here, actively pressing into the back heel as well as the front big toe, drawing the rib cage inwards towards the spine behind it and softening the shoulder blades. On your next exhale, plant the hands at the front of the mat. Walk the fingertips as far forward as you can and slowly as you inhale, shift your body weight into the front leg. You can always keep the back toes on the floor or lift the back foot. Flexing the toes and spinning that left pinky toe towards the ground, possibly even lifting one hand at a time to the sides of the hips for full Warrior 3, Virabhadrasana 3. Now actively press your top heel away, reach the crown of the head forward. On your next exhale, draw that top knee in towards the chest as you come to stand. Lift the arms up and overhead into Hasta Padamgustasana variation here. So really actively draw that top knee in. Gradually let the right hand land to the outside of the knee. Left hand goes back. If you're feeling super brave, take a look at your back thumb. Spin the chest open towards the left hand side. Reach the right fingertips forward, slowly leaning into the front leg again. Step left foot to the back and very lightly, gently land in Warrior 2 position here. Let the shoulders be soft, let the fingertips be soft. Press into both feet equally. Again, similar alignment here. See if you can contract the front of the body, pull it towards the spine. Plant the back hand to the back thigh, straighten the front leg as you reach the right fingertips up and overhead into a reverse triangle. Inhale, reach the right fingertips as far forward as you can. Land the back of that hand to the inner thigh, calf, ankle or floor. Lift the left fingertips up into triangle pose. Really actively pressing into the front big toe. Spinning the center of the chest open towards the ceiling. So really think about rolling the lower rib cage forward and pulling the top rib cage back. Next inhale, look down towards your front big toe if you're not already. Bend the front knee and inhale, lift up through Warrior 2. Exhale, reverse warrior. Inhale, bring yourself all the way forward. Right forearm onto the front thigh, left arm up and overhead into Parashvakonasana, extended side angle pose. Again, rolling the chest open, this time by dropping the left shoulder behind you and looking up. Find a moment to breathe here. Press the bottom elbow away, lift a little bit taller, actively pressing into the back leg. On your next inhale, use the top arm, bring yourself back up through Warrior Two. Turn your back toes out so that you end up in horse stance. Bring the left forearm on top of the left thigh. Reach the right arm up and over your head, dropping the right sitting bone. So you're doing a side bend in the opposite direction here. Use your top arm as you inhale. Find your way back through center. Plant the hands down in front of you. Turn your heels out, toes in. Find your way into a wide-legged forward fold. Now keep yourself in this taller position with the hands underneath the shoulders. Allow your left knee to bend, really open up the inner right thigh. And then swap sides. Bend the right knee, let the left inner thigh open. And move from side to side a few times here. This last time that you come back from the right side, turn all 10 toes to the back of your yoga mat. Find your way into a runner's lunge at the back. Plant the hands underneath the shoulders on an inhale. Step the front foot all the way back. Find a high plank position. Now, yogi's choice, you can lower down via the knees or in one straight line as you exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale to find the back bend of your choice. And exhale either via the knees or one straight line, making your way back into downward facing dog, Ardha Mukha Svanasana. On your next inhale, looking between the hands, softening the knees. Exhale to walk, step or jump the feet towards the hands, feet hip distance when you arrive. Lengthen the spine halfway as you inhale here, reach the crown of the head forwards, and soften the knees as you exhale, fold all the way back in. On your next inhale, plant the hands underneath the shoulders, step your right foot back into that runner's lunge position. Again, take a moment to really find a little bit of space between the two heels and rise up, lift your arms into high lunge on the second side. Generous bend on the front knee, soft shoulders. Finding that connection of the rib cage towards the spine, so front and back body connection. And then take a moment to settle in, to find the breath. Slowly take your hands down as you exhale. Shift your body weight forward into the left foot. Possibly stay on top of your right big toes. Maybe float the right foot off the ground if you prefer. Maybe one hand at a time comes to the sides of the hips for full Warrior Three. And very actively press into the right leg. Push that heel away from the crown of the head. Lengthen the whole of the body. Your last moment of balance here. On an exhale, draw the top knee in towards the chest, lift the arms to find your variation of Hasta Padamgustasana here with the bent knee. Find a focal point in front of you as you let the left hand travel across to the front of the outside of the front knee. Right hand reaches back. Maybe if you're feeling very balanced, you look towards your back thumb. Spinning the chest open to the right side. Obviously, if the balance is tricky, you're still looking ahead. You might have found that out the hard way already. As you inhale, reach the left fingertips forward and step your right foot all the way back. Land it lightly to find Warrior Two on the second side. Let the fingertips point down. Let the knuckles lengthen away from one another. Press actively into both feet. As you exhale, take the back hand to the back thigh. Straighten the front leg to reverse your triangle. Lengthen left side of the waist. As you inhale, reach left hand forward. Let the back of that hand land to the inner thigh, calf, ankle, or floor. Let the right fingertips lift up towards the ceiling.
actively press into your front big toe and open the chest towards the sky. So again, lower rib cage, you're aiming to draw that forward, and top rib cage, you're aiming to roll that back. Bend your front knee very generously. On an inhale, use your top arm to pull yourself up and all the way back into a reverse warrior. On your next inhale, travel forward. Bring your left forearm to the front thigh, right fingertips over the head. Parshvakonasana, same thing here. So think about this time dropping the top shoulder behind you, lifting through the front of the body, and actively pressing the bottom elbow away from you to find a little bit more lift here. Let the next inhale in your top hand bring you back to warrior two. Take just a moment to arrive here, and then we turn it all the way to horse stance. So right toes turn in, both heels are pointing towards one another, and the knees are tracking outwards over second and third toe. Right forearm goes on top of the right thigh so that we can let the left arm come overhead and lengthen left side of the waist, which we've just compressed in our side angle pose. Using the top arm, we come all the way forward and down, hands underneath the shoulders so that we can spin the heels away from one another, and this time find a static forward fold. So some of you might like to stay with the spine a little bit taller, hands underneath the shoulders for support. Some of you might be able to bend the elbows or rest the crown of the head all the way on top of the ground. Let this be your final exhale here. On an inhale, walk the hands back underneath your shoulders. Turn your right toes out. Walk yourself to the front of the mat and find a runner's lunge here. Take a moment to expand the chest. And when you're ready, plant the hands underneath the shoulders. Inhale, step the front foot to the back into high plank position. Lower down either via the knees or in one straight line as you exhale. Let the inhale take you into the back bend of your choice. And the exhale takes you back, either via the knees or in one straight line, finding downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Allow yourself a moment to rest here. And gradually, when you're ready, take the knees down towards the floor, bring the big toes to touch, and send your sitting bones back towards the heels. Shimmy your upper body between the thighs a few times, moving left and right to really nestle the torso down. And then either rest the forehead on the floor or stack your hands underneath the head for support. Find a moment to allow your breath to settle back down. Let the front of the face soften. Let the lower jaw release from the top jaw. Let the tongue move away from the roof of the mouth. Let the muscles in the forehead release, especially if you're able to rest the forehead somewhere. Can you use the pressure on the forehead to really allow you to release those muscles? Think about the muscles around the eyes becoming softer. The muscles either side of the nose releasing. Gradually, when you're ready, plant the hands underneath the shoulders. Walk yourself up into a kneeling position. And this is where we're going to close the practice today. So bring the palms of your hands to touch in front of the chest. Bow the forehead towards the fingertips. and give yourself just a moment of gratitude for showing up on your yoga mat and dedicating this time to your practice today. Finally, if you would like to, you might offer up this focus, this dedication that you've built in your yoga practice towards something in your life, or possibly sending it out to somebody else who might need it a little bit more. The light in me recognizes the light in you. Namaste, Yogi, and thank you so much for coming to join me in today's practice. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, share it with your friends, and spread the good word. And of course, if you'd like to find me anywhere else, in the meantime, my social media links are in the video description. And if you have any comments, suggestions, feedback, let me know how your practice went today. Then drop me a comment down below and I will be happy to hear from you. In the meantime, I hope to see you back on your yoga mat next week for another slow flow with me.